As I witnessed thugs, masked thugs, on the 6th of January 2016 on the streets of Dublin, outnumber, bully, and assault individuals who are simply out there to speak their minds and have their opinions be heard, which is their right in an open, democratic society. I have a few questions for Antifa, or any radical left-wing group that chooses to use violence. Number 1. Can you distinguish between racism and the desire for self-preservation in a traditionally ethnically pure country? 2. If not, were the Zulus and other tribes racist for raiding and fighting unarmed Afrikaans who had settled unoccupied land for decades? 3. Why, to your mind, when many Europeans migrate to non-European countries, most or all of them are there to destroy or hijack that culture? But when many non-Europeans migrate to European countries, to your mind, most or all of them are not there to destroy or hijack the culture? Why are non-Europeans necessarily superior to Europeans? Is that not racist? 4. How do you reconcile calling yourself anti-fascist with bringing violence to the streets of Ireland when a minority of the population peacefully uses their democratic right of demonstration and protest? Isn't it the very definition of fascism to be so convinced that your plan for society is the correct one that you would use violence to enforce it? How can we reasonably suspect that if you had control of the state, that you wouldn't simply continue to terrorize people with that power? 5. How does it feel knowing that I'm afraid for my bodily integrity to speak publicly about my reservations and fears over the policies running my country? Are you proud to be terrorists? And are you proud to be building a totalitarian regime? 6. How does it feel to be a violent extreme of your political ideology? The other side of the same coin. How does it feel to be as animalistic and pathetic as radical racists? How does it feel to be just another idiot dominating the political narrative and discussion with violence? 7. Do you plan to drag Ireland down into a similar conflict to the last days of Weimar Germany, where Nazis and communists murdered each other in the streets, terrorizing the public? 8. If you know that violence and intimidation isn't the answer, what will you do to show us that you are accountable for your actions? And what will you do to let your comrades know that this behavior isn't appropriate? 9. Are you aware that most people who oppose mass immigration in Ireland are actually aligned with the left on certain social and governmental issues? Are you aware that if the left refuses to work with people based on opinions about immigration, we run the risk of polarizing the country along that line and ultimately losing those social and governmental battles? It has always been the perception of forward-thinking intellectuals that the left is the embodiment of freedom and liberty, to the point that people have forgotten what left and right actually is. If you ask the average person what the right wing is, they would say authoritarian. But the truth of the matter is that authoritarian and libertarian belong on a completely different axis, while left and right simply is the question of, are we open or are we conservative about any given subject? People can be a variety of left and right on different subjects, as far as I'm concerned, because the whole idea of left and right is kind of a joke to me, and keeps people fighting over basically nothing. We share a lot of things in common because we share a country and we need to get by. There are people suffering in our country. And instead of fighting over our definitions of what is wrong with the country, how about we have a level-headed discussion? How about we stop trying to get in the way of each other having conferences and public assemblies and be respectful? It seems that the left in Ireland isn't content to do that, and now the shoe is on the other foot, so to speak. Now that the left have some hegemony in our governments, now they are using violence. They are shutting down liberty. The left needs to be accountable for that, and it needs to apologize.